So in this video we will discuss about the first line defense. Okay, so as you guys all know that our as you guys all know, for example, this is a pathogen. So this pathogen have to cross the first line defense for our body. Okay, so we are in our body we are having three line defense. So as you guys all know, so the first two are basically in the innate, or they are non-specific, and third line defense is basically specific and they are in the innate. So as you guys all know, in the acquired and innate we have discussed in very detail, and in the previous video we have discussed about the first line defense too, that the first line defense is the skin. Okay, so that is it's of the immunity response. Okay, so first line defense we are also calling that as a layered defense. Okay, layered defense, and you can say that as a layered line too. Okay, so the in first line defense, as you guys all know, in innate we have discussed about the physical barrier. Okay, and the physiological barrier. What was the physical barrier? That was basically the non-specific, and that was before birth. Okay, and that was basically like the skin was their reproductive organ. These all were the first in the first barrier, so that we were called as a physical barrier and the physiological barrier. What is physiological barrier? The secretion. For example, we are having the digestive system, reproductive tract, and respiratory tract. So they all are having what? They are having the secretion. So their secretion, we are calling that as a physiological barrier, or they work as a chemical weapon, or we can say that as a biochemical secretion. Okay, so if we talk about the physical barrier of the first line defense, so as you guys all know, so the first, that is the pathogen have to enter in the first line, which means they have to face the skin first of all. So what is skin? Skin is basically the multitasking organ, which means that it is having too much functions. Okay, it is a multitasking organ. So it is basically the largest organ of our body. Okay, and its covering is basically 1.8 meter square area of our body. Okay, and if we talk about from, for example, our body is 100%. From 100% of our body, 15% of our body weight. Okay, for example, the body, for example, the person is having the weight. Okay, so their 15% weight of the body is making by the skin. Okay, so skin is making 15% skin of a body, which means 15% of your weight. Okay, as well as, and it performs basically many functions. So if the main function is they are having that, it perform the osmoregulatory, okay, and the thermoregulatory. As you guys all know, the thermoregulatory, that is the production of the sweat and heat, and we are feeling the, you can say that, coldness and the hotness, the sensation we are feeling, that is we are feeling about from what, like from the skin. Okay, and it's a physical barrier. It's a physical barrier, as you guys all know, we have discussed about here. So it's a physical barrier. So as you guys all know, in the previous video we discussed about physical barrier and physiological barrier, and we were having the cellular barrier, cytokine barrier. We have discussed these in very detail. Okay, so if we talk about the physical barrier, so this is the physical barrier but impermeable. What does it mean by the impermeable? Impermeable means that the outsider cannot come inside without, like for example, if there is no cut in our body, so the pathogen cannot enter through the skin. Okay, so the outsider cannot come, okay, come inside. But if we talk about the inside, so inside material can come out, like the sweat production is there, salts, ions, the bicarbonate ions are there. Okay, so this is impermeable. Second, we are having that it also work as a as a chemical weapon, which means that it also work as a chemical weapon, which means that they are having the secretion. Okay, they are also having the secretion. Second point, today we are discussing only the introduction. Okay, so skin also deal with the environmental changes like the sensation, pressure, temperature, radiation we are feeling. Okay, as well as it also generate the reflexes like the sensory cells, like sensory neurons we are having, that is the we are feeling the touch, we are feeling the pain, so this also work as a receptor too. Okay, and if you talk about the basic feature of the skin, that is the protection. Okay, and it is basically the vitamin D reservoir, which means that it stores the vitamin D in our body. Okay, from the sunlight. And why it stores? Basically for the calcification. What is calcification? Calcification of bone, or you can say that ossification. What is ossification? Ossification or calcification means to make the bones strong. So vitamin D is basically stored for the calcification of the bone. Okay, and if it is not stored in our body, so the rickets can occur. Rickets is basically a, you can say that it's a deficiency of a vitamin D. That is basically a disease is there. Okay, that is basically very common in the children's. Okay, and it also change in the peripheral too. What is peripheral? Peripheral is basically the blood circulation, or you can say the blood flow. For example, erecting of a hair. Okay, or becoming laying of the hair to regulate the temperature. So we are having the many function of the skin. Let me tell you guys about the skin layers. Skin basically consists of three layers. First is the epidermis, second we are having this the dermis, and third we are having the hypodermis. So I'm just giving you the overview. In the next video we will discuss about the detailed lecture of these layers. So in this video we have discussed about the introduction of the first line defense.